It's finally here, the big district showdown. Hello, everybody. Terry Bennett here on the Muenster Hornet Football Show, right here on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media, as the Hornets match up with the Collinsville Pirates to decide supremacy of 8-2A Division II, a battle of two top five teams. Of course, Muenster comes into the game as the number 3 team in the state. Collinsville comes into the game as the number 2 team. I guess I should say the top 3 matchup in a game that I know I've been excited for all year long. Grant Goodwin, the sideline co-host of mine, he's been excited for. Me and Coach Carney talking, before we've recorded shows, we kind of would always point to, hey, did you see what Collinsville did this week? And talk about their stuff. And it's just going to be a great matchup. And I can't wait to see how this goes. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it. I will be in another really, really good matchup, though, as we're going to be going to watch Graham versus Brock in kind of the same exact situation. You've got two teams that are in the top 5 in their state rankings playing each other in district. And after last week's just absolutely crazy games all across the state, it's going to be interesting to see the encore here in week 10. We're going to do what we always do, and that's, of course, talk to the head coach of the Muenster Hornets, Coach Brady Carney, and we'll do that when we come back right here on the Muenster Hornet Football Show on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media. Do you have a kid that plays sports? Are you yourself a weekend warrior? Then I'm going to tell you something. Check out NeuroGuardPlus.com. That's NEURO GuardPlus.com. It's a mouthpiece that can not only help with concussions, but can dramatically affect the way you perform. And the mission of NeuroGuard is to, of course, reduce the risk of suffering a concussion when participating in any contact sport, military, anything that you're doing physical that you could take a blow to the head. You might want to put in a NeuroGuard mouth guard. And as I said, it not only helps eliminate concussions, it helps you perform better by simply aligning your jaw properly. And that sounds like such a simple thing, but it is so important because it allows oxygen to get to your brain. And when you get oxygen to the brain, you don't have that fog of sports or that fog of war where you get confused. And if you've ever played football, that's a sport where that can happen. Especially, man, you're in there in the trenches and you take a shot to the side and all of a sudden things are spinning. This mouth guard will help you keep focus by, again, simply keeping oxygen going to your brain 100%. Again, check them out, NeuroGuardPlus.com. And if you play sports, if you have a kid that plays sport, if you do something physical, one of the things that Dr. Hutchinson, the creator of this, was talking about was some people will use it when they're doing yard work and when they're mowing and things like that, where they're being physically active because they know it helps align their jaw and it keeps oxygen going to the brain, which also helps your lungs, by the way, when you can have full breath every time as you're performing. So again, check them out, NeuroGuardPlus.com.
Hi, I'm Josh Bell with the Miami Marlins. I wear NeuroGuard to help with strength and coordination when I'm in the weight room and help with balance when I'm on the baseball.
Terry Bennett back here on the Muenster Football Show. Now joined by the head coach of the Hornets, Coach Brady Carney. And Coach, we can talk about last week, but I want to focus on this week. This is the game that, you and I have kind of talked about through the season, and we've talked about it on our Sideline to Sideline show, but it's Collinsville versus Muenster, 2 top 5 teams going at it. First off, what are your thoughts on Collinsville?
Man, it's crazy how much different they are. Compared to the last 2 years, and they lost a lot of speed and a lot of good athletes, but they still got that core up front that kind of makes them go on both sides. From the defensive side, they're 3 down linemen and they're 2 inside linebackers and outside linebackers, and then you flip over to the offensive side and Trevino and Cantu at fullback behind a big offensive line, and man, that's just not what we've seen the last few years. Not that they weren't big, but with Logan at quarterback and those guys, the receiving core they had and so forth, and how much they threw it and aired it out and played up tempo. It's just 2 totally different styles that we've seen the last 2 years. And to me, that just, that says that that's a good coaching staff. Coach Patterson and Coach Davis and those guys have done a good job realizing their personnel and what they have and taking advantage of it, man. And just a totally different team, but still an exceptional football team, plays the game the right way, in my opinion, very physical and run based at first, but the little Jenkins can still throw. And then to me, their defense is as good, if not better than what they have been.
Well, yeah, I think the thing that it stands out at me is how much more they're running. And you're right, they still throw the ball, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But their run game this year, I think if I got the stats right, through 8 games, they've matched what they did through 14 games last year. And so is that one of those situations where not you throw out the game films from last year, but do you have to rely more on what you're seeing this year and not going, oh, I know what he'll do in this type of situation because it's a little different this year?
Yeah, it's all different. There's no reason to honestly even hardly look back at any game films from the last 2 years. Offense or defense, like I said, they're totally different. Basing out of a 3-4 on defense, where they've been running special on defense the last 2 years. And then, like I said, going from a spread it out, empty sets and so forth, and 3x2 or 3x1 and 2x2 and just different things. Now they're just more, you don't want to say tight end based because they use an H-back, but they have more in the box to set an edge and so forth. But yeah, man, the films from the last 2 years, they really mean nothing, to be honest to you.
Well, and you bringing up some of the terminology, basically, instead of trying to get the outside numbers, they're more happy this year to get the inside the box numbers to work their way.
You bet. It's totally different. Yeah, they said they're always, or predominantly on film, they have a H-back set in there, which can be a tight end type personnel deal, and then they'll bring another one in the box and another one and another one. So, yeah, where the last 2 years they've been trying to spread you out to gain more field advantage in wider spaces. Now they're kind of condensing things down to get more bodies in the box to block for those big dudes behind in the backfield. So yeah, it's totally different than what it has been.
Now, in saying all that, as you were talking about the younger Jackson Jenkins, he's really started to mold into that quarterback, and using this style of offense also helps him because he's not having to do multiple reads.
Yeah, play action stuff. Now they pound you down and then hit you with play action stuff, or they'll take advantage of a one receiver route on the outside or whatever it may be. A lot of screens and so forth. But yeah, they're just they've done a really good job, like I said, of setting him up to have success with what they're doing. First and foremost is run the football, and then their play action off of that's been really good. Puts you in a bind because you're geared up to stop the run, and they slip somebody out on you, or they got a curl route or a wheel route in there off their play action, and they've done a really good job. And then when you're trying to bring pressure to stop the run, they throw screens on you. So, man, it's just they've done a good job and put you in a bind with what you try to do as far as stopping the run. They got a good answer for it in their passing game.
But you feel good, and you have felt good all year about your run defense. Is this one of those games where you're hoping you can keep your safeties out of the box so you don't get caught in that play action cycle where your safeties are up, they go over you, your safeties are back, they run to you?
Yeah, it's one of those deals. I feel like we've been pretty steady and played pretty well against the run. But I don't know if we've seen a team, honestly, that runs the ball this well.
Yeah.
Where you look at Holiday and Pottsboro, the Pottsboro quarterback's an exceptional runner, but they're also going to throw it and spread it out and let him run it, where Collinsville doesn't run the quarterback a lot. And then Holiday, they came over, they threw with success, and DeLeon and Winthorst were all throwing the football around. So I don't think we've seen a team that can run the ball this successful with this talented of a running back core. It's something I don't think we've seen yet. I don't want to sell anybody short, but Trevino's a heck of a running back, man. He's big, strong, fast, and he'd just rather run over you than around you. And it's just one of those deals. I do think our run game defensively, stopping the run is one of our strengths, and it's going to have to be this week for us to have success. So I guess we'll find out tomorrow night.
Offensively, what do you think you can do against him? Their defense has been really solid, but they've had some games like the Wolf City game where they gave up some points. So what do you think you can do against their defense?
Man, it's hard to say. I feel like they're really good in the box. Like I mentioned earlier, the 3 down linemen, whoever they rotate through, they're all good players. But to me, the strength is in the 2 middle linebackers, the Nick Cox kid, number 54, and Garrett Trevino, number 6. Those are the 2 dudes that make them go. So, for us, if we're going to have any success, we're going to have to get a body on those guys and maintain our blocks long enough to see what we can do. But, in the box, they're really good. So for us, we may have to figure out a way to make things happen in other areas, come Friday night. I don't want to take anything away from the Morgan kid either. Cash is a great outside linebacker. They got some safeties that are young, but you can see that they're getting better each week, and two good athletic cornerbacks. But to me, the strength of their team kind of lies in the middle of the field with those three down linemen and those two linebackers there in the box that are really good players.
When you're playing a team, and of course at this level, you're playing a team that's usually their stars are playing on both sides, but somebody like Trevino who's playing running back and linebacker, do you believe in that theory that if you can run at him enough when he's playing linebacker and hit him enough with your lineman and always get a body on him, that might wear him down on the offensive side?
Man, no, it's hard to say because I think Garrett's he's an old school type football player. You can just tell by watching. He loves the game of football. He loves the physicality. He's one of those guys. I don't know if he gets tired, man, to be honest with you. I think he can carry the ball 30 times and make 20 tackles and still be smiling and hopping around at the end of the game. He's just a really good football player, and the Cox kid's the same way. But, yeah, it's one of those things you want to get a body on him and you want to physically, take care of him blocking wise, get a body on him. You want to hit him as far as that goes. I just don't know if that affects a kid like Garrett. He's just like I said, man, when you think of football, I think of a kid like Garrett Trevino. He's a football dude, man, and he loves it. I think he enjoys, like I said, he enjoys the contact more than anything. He's going to use his 220 pounds all night long and enjoy it. So, no, he's an exceptional player. But, yeah, you would hope. That's the one thing, Garrett's always been a linebacker and an offensive lineman that took some breaks. And you would think if it's 4 quarters of football from start to finish, doing what he'll have to do on both sides, you'd think they'd wear down a little bit. But we got guys in the same boat that play both ways that are going to wear down too. So maybe finding the opportunities for a small break in there, here and there, to keep them fresh in the fourth quarter if it's that kind of game.
Well, and to bring that up, and you and I were talking before we started recording, and I had referenced that last week in 3A, Columbus and Hitchcock, 2 top 5 teams are in the same district, and they went at it, and it was an amazing game. It was a great game, but the problem is they beat up each other so much that one team lost their quarterback for the rest of the year. The other team lost their stud running back for at least a few weeks. How do you as a coach, when it's the second to the last week of the year, I know this is for district, I know this is a rival, but how do you balance that of, yes, we want to win this game, but we don't want to win this game at the cost of future goals?
Yeah, that's a slippery slope to get on because, we're here to win and we're going to go out there and play with the best effort we can put forth and try our best to win a district championship, and I think we're probably going to do whatever it takes to do that. And if that means that, Nolan Peel carries it 20 times and he has success and we're having success, then he'll carry the ball 20 times. And we'll see where we're at the end. But, as a football coach, you don't want to ever let your players think that we preach physicality and effort and so forth. We're not going to tap the brakes or pull off or think that we're getting beat and start resting kids. I think we're just, our mentality is to go out there and give it our best and see how it all ends up at the end. And I think that'll definitely be our motive and the way we approach it tomorrow night.
I know every week as a coach you're excited, but weeks like this and weeks like the Kraut Bowl and, of course, the playoffs, are these the weeks that you get a little bit more pep in your step during the week?
Yeah, I think from a coaching standpoint you do that, and I think from a kid standpoint you do that. I didn't feel like we played real well last week in Santo, and watching the film of Collinsville versus Era, I didn't think they looked that sharp either, and I'm sure Garrett would say the same thing. Kids aren't dumb. They see scores, they see who is what, and so forth, and I didn't think our effort was great last week, and I feel like our effort and our intensity at practice has been totally different this week, and kind of overlook teams at times, and because you're looking forward to another team, and I think Collinsville's probably been looking forward to this as we have for the last few weeks, and man, I don't think Garrett has the same thing to his kids, and I won't have the same thing to mine. I think they'll just be ready to battle from the first kickoff to the last, and it should be a great atmosphere and a great game.
Here at L4 Media, we talk high school football, 4A, 3A, and 2A in Texas. We talk East Texas sports. We talk NFL, guy talk, movie and booze. We also talk wrestling and so much more. And you can see it all on our YouTube channel at L4 Media Company. Like and subscribe. As always, I want to thank the head coach of Muenster, Coach Carney, for joining us here. This feels like a playoff game. It's like this is a playoff game, and then next week's a little bit more of a pause. Not taking anything away from Chico, but it's more of a pause, and then boom, we're back into the playoffs. I kind of like that instead of this being the last game of the season, because then it, again, you want to win this game, but you've got to balance and I keep referencing that this week because there's so many of these big games, but just watching Columbus and Hitchcock last week, watching two top 5 teams blow for blow, just go at it like rivals trying to win district do, and just to see the carnage afterwards and where these teams will pick up and go from there. And so it made me pause when having, again, this show. And then I also do the Brock and Graham coaches shows. You can hear that at s2ssport.com where you hear this show. And just kind of wondering, what was going, how that's going to happen. Where do you draw the line in? We want to win this game at all costs, but then that cost being getting eliminated in the playoffs earlier than, or not even making it to the state championship, or whatever the case may be. If you have any questions, thoughts, or comments before we head into the playoffs, you can email me, Terry at s2ssport.com. We appreciate it. I apologize for last week. My mother-in-law fell and broke her hip the Friday before, and that meant last week we were dealing all week long with all that kind of stuff that you have to deal with and stuff. And it just, I had to take a pause for the week, and I do apologize, but we are back through the rest of the playoffs, and hopefully Muenster will be playing for a long time, and I think they will. So enjoy the game this week. Be safe if you're traveling out to Collinsville for it. And let's meet back next week to find out how it went down right here on the Muenster Football Show on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media.